Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me for this week's Roundtable. I'm your host, Adam Cook, and this week I'm coming to you from Grenville Street in St. Peters. A little later on in the show, we'll update you on discussions between a local group here in St. Peters and Richmond Municipal Council on how things are going in terms of getting council's financial support for a fitness center that could set up at the local Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation building not far from where I'm standing. But we begin this week with a presentation from a group that's trying to stimulate community development, small business, and tourism in eastern Cape Breton Island, stretching from Glace Bay all the way to Port Hawkesbury. The group's name is Arc of the Coast. They first set up shop in 2018, and they were even looking at Richmond County issues at that point, including wireless and phone service for people in communities like Framboise, Horseshoe, and Grand River. They recently made a presentation to Richmond County's latest Committee of the Whole meeting, so let's look at that presentation now, featuring two representatives of Arc of the Coast from Gaborone.
Hello from Gaborone. I'm Tim.
I'm Gene.
We are actually, Arc of the Coast is sort of a shorthand for our very cumbersome name, which describes better our area of interest. We incorporated as a cooperative, the Arc of the Coast Eastern Cape Breton Cooperative Alliance Limited under joint stocks in 2017. We've been operating as a group looking at opportunities for not just Gaborone, but for this coast that shares many common problems. We have sort of a motto we use in general to say that we're all in the same leaky boat together. And unless we learn to bail in unison and row in the same direction, we're all in trouble. So with that, I think it's important to give a bit of history. Gene and I moved here from the United States to retire in 2008, selling our property in Vermont. And when we came here first in 2006 and bought a small cottage, we thought this would be a great place to vacation, but we found it so wonderful we decided to stay when he retired from Washington, D.C. from the federal government, and I was retired by the recession. At any rate, we're very glad to be full-time residents here. Gene's a dual citizen and I'm a permanent resident of Canada. Our background is that we arrived here knowing that we were going to stay here for arguably the rest of our lives with a commitment to this area that grew over time. And by 2010, we witnessed what seemed to us the imminent failure of the Gaborone seawall, which had been built by and maintained by the federal government since 1946. And for some reason, for 20 years, there'd been a dispute about who owned it. So Gene and I dove into discovering who owned it. And it took us about 2.5, 3 years of full-time access to information requests and dealing with publicity that got across the country, including the front page of the Globe and Mail, to promote that our 300-year-old village, if this seawall were not repaired, would be inundated by the ocean and 1/3 of the village made uninhabitable, and our fishing harbor, our productive fishing harbor, would come to an end. So when we succeeded finally in 2013, 2014 in getting the province, the federal government, not DFO that owns it, but then ECBC, and the municipality to jointly invest $750,000 to repair the seawall, the wall that fishermen here told us would have failed that next winter in one of three places or all three places, was preserved. We subsequently worked with another group. There are 6 nonprofit organizations here, 3 of which Gene and I are co-founders and directors of, Arc of the Coast being one. Another one, Friends of Gaborone Society, that did that work on the seawall, and the Gaborone Lightkeepers, where the lighthouse was imminently going to fall into the sea due to coastal erosion, and we ended up getting our work together with a group that founded to save that, and we successfully got that done, moving it 80 feet back from the shore and restoring it. At any rate, that's a short form. Why we are doing what we're doing with Arc of the Coast has to do with the fact that when we got done with the projects here in Gaborone that we thought were most important, we started to look more broadly about the reconnection of Gaborone and Louisbourg, a 60+ year severance of the road that occurred when they rebuilt the Fortress Louisbourg. And when we looked at that, we recognized that the chances of being able to get either federal or provincial investments in that unless there was an improvement of the economic opportunities on this coast and therefore tax revenues, that it was unlikely we were going to get that kind of funding or cooperation. So when we started to look at the policies that were out there, we found that there was great lack of policies for investment in this coast. And Mike Kellaway, our current MP, was a co-founder and was the vice president of our organization from its inception. And he carries around with him to this day in his vest pocket, I believe, a map that I sent to him, I gave to him in a meeting, I believe, that shows the push pins that indicate the investment by the federal government in Cape Breton. And in our coast, there were no push pins. And I know that the Fortress Louisburg is an exception there, of course. So we started to look at what we could do that could possibly use the assets that are here on this coast that are available to all the communities that have fishing harbors that might enable people who chose to do so to engage in another ocean resource-based business operation. And in searching for that, we came across in 2018, the ocean farming industry, which started relatively recently in Maine. And it turns out that our first contact there is now the head of World Wildlife Fund, Washington, D.C., as the strategic investment advisor. But he was good enough to drive up here in January of 2018 to make a presentation at CBU to about 30 people we gathered together from various disciplines. His role was that he had been a mussel farmer in Maine and began experimenting with growing seaweeds. And over a series of years, he not only was successful growing both of those, but also producing a factory to be able to create products, to be able to have an end market for them. And in fact, as we got to know Paul, he became aware of our intensive efforts in this regard. And last year, we were offered a $50,000 grant from the headquarters of World Wildlife Fund to advance our efforts. That is being administered by World Wildlife Fund Canada. So our project is to educate people in the fishing communities and in the community at large about this new opportunity that exists that's being prosecuted across the arc of our latitude from Europe to Alaska. And Atlantic Canada is definitely a place where this has not advanced very far. We expect that Maine, which now has 16 operating shellfish seaweed farms that supply a factory that was founded by Paul that had a 12,000% increase in business operations last year alone, will be an indicator of the potential for this kind of industry here. The beauty of it to us was there are assets here, existing wharves, existing seafarers, boats, all of the things one would need if there was another industry that was to emerge here. So the industry that we're looking at, interestingly enough, it's centered around a season that begins in September and wraps up in April with the harvesting of seaweeds. Now, shellfish operations continue year-round, but you can do those while also doing lobster fishing or crab fishing by going out and tending the traps in between the runs for lobster and crab. The other issue is that the ocean chemistry is changing, and there are impacts that are being noticeable of ocean acidification. That is the acid formation in the water of carbonic acid by the carbon we put in the atmosphere with our human contribution to pollution. And that is going to have an inhibiting factor on the growth of shellfish. It's been well documented. Lobster also are somewhat problematic in that the Gulf of Maine, which is where, as a young man, my family always got our lobster from the Portland area, Casco Bay. There are virtually no lobster fishers left in that area to an extent. The northern part of Maine still retains the lobster fishing industry. In their case, it has to do with ocean warming and the migration offshore or further north, which we've noticed in statistics here. There are a number of lobsters that we call volunteers that are in our market, in our waters. That would be an indicator, perhaps, with no offense to our north, that perhaps if the oceans warm here, that might be something that we would have to be aware of as communities going depends so heavily on lobster, especially, but also snow crab. So that's where we started. We also, along the way, have worked with the Horseshoe St. Peter's Road Group, who asked us to join them in efforts to do what we had intended to do originally, which was to get improvements to the Fleur-de-Lis Trail from the causeway all the way to the fortress. Their focus was on the St. Peter's to Horseshoe section, which is in terrible shape. And they were successful, and we hope we assisted them a bit in getting some grants, or actually promises of repairs. And that is part of our plan, looking at cell phone coverage before there was any chance that it seemed it was going to come, or putting up towers to provide that, cooperatively owned. Those are all issues that have been on the table for us. We are now looking at working with Gardner Pinfold Consulting, which coincidentally did the study on reopening the Gabrus-Lewisburg Road in 2008, which indicated that it would make money for the province and the community through tourism if it were to be reopened. They're going to work with us on a public outreach campaign, which will be quite broad. Initially, we're going to work with the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia. We had a meeting with them several days ago about collaborating with them. And they're going to provide to us the names and contact information for all of the shellfish farmers in all of Nova Scotia to form the basis of a survey to try and begin looking at the attitudes towards seaweed farming amongst a group that already have leases and licenses in place for shellfish, which seems to be quite both a profitable and a proven industry in other parts of the world. We also got a grant of $8,500 worth of software from the Esri, which is the largest geospatial planning group in the world. Their software is used for terrestrial planning, but they gave us access to technical support and software for marine spatial planning. That is to work on trying to identify sites that would be appropriate and perhaps most productive, and warning off from sites that might not be in terms of planning locations potential. You have 3 minutes. So we also have been working with NSCC, as Amanda knows, and informing all the government entities on this coast of what we see as an opportunity, and also the issues that give rise to the need to look at other opportunities for our communities. We feel quite certain that we will have some governmental support for this, including that we will go to ACOA and to other places in order to seek additional funding beyond our initial funding. The NSCC and the Cape Breton Partners working together on concepts that we brought to both groups originally, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and they're prosecuting it now. We have not had a forward-facing website, a public-facing website, until now, when we're working on launching one in the next week or so. The purpose being that we did not want to get ahead of our over the tip of our skis. We didn't want to be putting out information that would be out, so to speak, in the wild, that could be circulated amongst people who could build up opposition. And in particular, there was the example, we've worked with the port developers in Sydney and worked a lot with them over the years, and a lot of opposition built up in the community amongst people who were not all that sure of why there should be a port there, et cetera. And we didn't want to have, with a new idea being presented, any potential opposition emerging behind the scenes before we were fully ready to roll this out with all the educational programs and Gardner Pinfold's assistance in doing market studies and also public surveys. So we're looking forward to, CBRM has indicated that their willingness to have us put CBRM on as a supporter on our website when it emerges. We're asking if the council would consider doing the same for Richmond County. And we believe we'll get that support from Port Hawkesbury as well, because Brenda Chisholm-Beaton came to our first organizational meetings and has been a strong supporter of the concept, at least in theory, since the inception of our cooperative.
Nice to see you guys again. I remember we spoke one night in Framboise. But
yes, nice to see you.
No, I'd be interested to to see this moving forward. I think it provides a good opportunity here, and we have a lot of the infrastructure in place, as they said.
Right now, I'm standing between the current and the former locations of the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation here on Grenville Street in St. Peters. The building that used to house the NSLC is being targeted as a future home for the Eastern Counties Regional Library branch here in St. Peters, as well as the village's Visitor Information Center and a possible new fitness center to replace ones that have shut down over the past couple of years. Conversations are still going on between the Village Fitness Co-op Limited, based here in St. Peters, and Richmond Municipal Council. And as the footage we're about to show you from Council's latest Committee of the Whole meeting shows, it's not always easy to come up with a way to be able to support a local organization trying to stimulate community development. Here's that conversation with Richmond Municipal Council right now from their latest Committee of the Whole meeting, followed by a brief appearance by Claire Rankin, a representative of the Village Fitness Co-op.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Village Fitness Center Cooperative Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Fund of requests for $10,000. So just to give folks a little bit of background on this, is obviously a community response to the closure of the privately owned gym in St. Peters. And I know this council has discussed, applications from other gyms in the past. And, we did talk about the fact that we didn't want the municipality to be in a situation where we would be supporting, one organization that would potentially take business away from a private sector organization. I think that had come up with IFID in the past, and also making sure that we're not funding like full on costs. So this application is specifically to purchase a little over $90,000 worth of equipment, I believe, to set up the new gym, and the request is for $10,000. So any comments or questions from councillors on this one?
I was so excited to see that they were able to get their application in so quickly. I really enjoyed their presentation, and I applaud the members of the community who leapt into action so quickly when the gym closed down, and are providing this great opportunity for the folks, not only of the immediate St. Peters area, but of course spilling over into my district, and also for people who come visiting from away. And so I wholeheartedly support their application. I have a fair bit of funds left in my district, and I would be willing to put up $2,000. Like at this point, we only have $4,250 left in our Type 4. So it's definitely going to take some district funds to make this one happen if people are interested in that. And I would definitely put, $2,000 of the $4,500 I have left, and maybe more if needed, but I'll let others to speak to that. But I am absolutely in support of that.
Thanks, Deputy Warden. Councillor Digdon.
Yeah, so I guess my concern is, and I'm definitely in support, and I really applaud the work they've done to get it to council so fast. My only issue, I guess, is less than 3 months ago, and I don't like to say the word rejected, but I believe we were sitting with the same discussion, as you say, with the IFIT when they put an application forward. And I do know at that time the other gym was privately owned. However, now it seems like we refused one gym, and now we're going to support the other. So I just, again, I caution us, because if we do that and next week they decide to open a gym, in Louisdale or in Foreshue, or do we start supporting that gym as well? So I believe, the fundamental part and the supporting process and helping them out wherever we can. But again, budgetary wise, is that something we really want to get into, is giving money to the gym, considering we had this discussion less than 3 months ago and rejected the first one?
So Councillor Digdon, I don't think we rejected it. We gave them $2,000. It was a little less than 50%
Right, that's what I was going to say.
they were asking for.
I believe, but I thought if I'm not mistaken, to come out of the district fund, not out of our capital fund, in which they were looking for.
Well, it's the district funds are just allocations, right? They're
Correct.
Not, yeah, it's not. None of it's like it's all a grant fund. It's not really like a capital. I guess I'm not quite sure what. Because we didn't reject it, like our council agreed to support the project to the tune of $2,000, and I know it came from your district funds for sure. Deputy Warden, did you still have a question?
Well, I mean, I wanted to just comment that we did support it. Perhaps, I know, Jason, the spreadsheet doesn't show who we paid the money to, but I know you have it somewhere. I can see you searching your computer. So maybe if you could comment, what were the funds that we did give them and where were they taken from?
Yeah, I believe, Deputy Warden, it was simply just 1,000 each from District 1 and District 2.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I have it noted in my spreadsheet. Yeah. And I obviously would be willing to put it in the remainder of my grant on this one, the 1,500, which would bring the total up to 3,500. So, and I have to be honest with you, Jason, my math is a little off of because I've been keeping track of these grants as well, and I still had 11,000, even after the 6,000 for the past year and the 3,250 for the St. John's from this evening. I still have like 11,250 left in that regional, but you've indicated it's less than that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the type 4. I was showing a balance of 13,500. So I deducted the 3,250 and the 6,000 off of that to get to 42,500.
4250, yeah.
Yeah, the 4250, sorry.
Yeah, I just
If it's 42.5, Jace, we're gonna spend some more.
We're over budget.
coming into this meeting, I had that number at 20,500. So I guess I'm just
What was left?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had Lennox Passage. So the only places that I've had drawing down from the regional fund, my understanding is we started off there with 35,500.
Yeah.
Because yeah, right. So I had 500 from River Bourgeois Mariners in September, 5,000 to the Ayrshire Development Association in September. Between Raising the Villages and Waterway, we had another 5,000 in October. And then in February, 4,500. Maybe my math could totally be wrong. This wouldn't be the first time.
I'm showing 2,000 from the Pittipuck.
Oh, okay. So that's where Viduba went. But
and then the other one that I have included in there is the as of right now, I have the Cape Breton Partnership one included in there. That's the Strait of Cancel Gateway. That one was approved through council. It wasn't formally done through a grant request, but
no,
we have it in that account right now.
So, but Viduba was already wasn't that already agreed to at budget time? Like,
no, that one was. I think they had made a request, and something tells me it got referred to for them to apply for a grant. But they did go through the grant process and apply, and they got approved for 2,000. I just paid it out last week. So that's your 2. I guess your 2 and your 5.
Okay. So the $5,000 then that's a big chunk. That I didn't realize was going to be coming out of here. So I don't know, councillors, like I assumed there was another place in our budget that we were going to be looking for that from, but are we all okay with that 5,000 from the Gateway sitting in this fund?
I don't know. Like, I just thought that if what didn't come through a grant app, that's not where it would come from. That we would just need to make an adjustment somewhere in the budget. The rest of the budget.
So all this account, the reason why we put it there is because this account contains all the funding contributions that were approved at budget, as well as, so that's where the type 4 sits, right? So all the funding contributions that were approved at budget, plus all the grants that were done through applications. So there's really nowhere else, I guess, theoretically, to put it in the accounting system. That's not really important, I guess. I guess if you don't want it to be included in these numbers tonight, then basically that account would just be over budget by 5,000, which is not the end of the world. It's just that I haven't included it in the numbers for tonight because it was approved.
Where are we sitting number wise? What we have left between our districts and?
So we have 35. We have 3,500 sort of committed between Deputy Warden and I towards this project. In terms of councillors' remaining monies, District 1 is 1,000, District 2 750, and District 3 2,500.
And then 4,250 left in the type 4.
And 4,250 in the type 4.
I guess there was 12,000 total and available before this grant.
Right.
So District 2 was how much?
750.
Where do you get the? It should have been 1750 minus the 5 should have been 1250.
You put
No.
two 500s up.
Yeah,
And then the other,
500 for Rocky Bay.
and then,
500 for Friends of St. John's,
yeah.
So like I'll admit, kind of coming into this, I'm not really super comfortable with that, not having realized that 5,000 was there. And Jason, I should have reached out to you to double check my numbers when I got your sheet today or whenever that was sent. I just never had a chance to, but my feeling is that I really appreciate the Deputy Warden's investment there, and of course the funds. There won't be any other projects coming for this district, so I'm happy to support with 1,500. My feeling is that we should, from the regional fund, still just continue to support at the $10,000 level. If they can leverage $90,000, a little over 90,000 by an investment of 10, that's pretty good cents on the dollar. And so my feeling is we should go ahead and support with the 6,500 from the regional fund in any case. But I'd appreciate comments on that for sure. Councillor Sean Sampson.
Yeah, no, I'd be willing to put the 500 from District 1 for sure. I just don't want to spend it all just in case something arises in the next week or so and we have a special meeting for District 1. But I would be willing to put $500 in. Recreation is important to everybody in Richmond County, right? So I wish them all well and hope they get this gym going. And so yeah, I'll be willing to pledge the 500 for my district.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Digdon.
Yeah, and as well, I guess I have 750 left, and there's no, like the fellow says, you can't take it with you. So I'm going to pledge the my 750 over to them as well, and it's a great investment. I just, like I say, the only thing I wanted to caution us was before, and obviously moving forward. Then
yeah,
so,
certainly, I taken. So what we have on the table right now is a $500 investment from District 1, $750 from District 2, $2,000 from District 3, and for $1,500 from District 4. I guess to make up the 10,000, that would be a $5,250 investment from the regional Type 4 grants, which would overdraw our regional by $1,000, given that the $5,000 from the gateway is in there. Deputy Warden?
So I'm a little bit like Sean, I don't like to deplete my entire district fund because I've contributed to a group, but really there's been no groups from the area. That doesn't mean that it won't come. And for me, that's why I'm trying to hold out a little bit, just in the event that something comes up. I've had a couple of inquiries the past few weeks. And so I just don't want to find myself with no funds specific to my district. I mean, I think it's okay for us to be $1,000 over in that Type 4 piece because of the $5,000 that, we weren't really sure it was going to come out of there. And also the fact that the likelihood that both Councillor Sampson and I are going to have applications that will eat up our district funds. I think as a whole, in terms of the whole 60,500, I don't feel like we're going to be 61,500, I guess. And it's $1,000. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think we should proceed with the district fund. So I think I'm ready for a motion. How's that?
Okay.
So here we go. So I move that we fund the Village Fitness Center for the total of 10,000, 2,000 from District 3, 1,500 from District 4, 500 from District 1, 750 from District 2, and 5,250 from the Type 4 pool.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Digdon. Sir, any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
I just wanted to thank Council for the support tonight. I think it's a great community project, and it will be far-reaching for all its health benefits and mental health benefits and physical health benefits. And I just wanted to thank all Council for help chipping in and helping us get to this goal.
And there you have it, folks. That wraps up this week's edition of Roundtable. Thanks to the municipality of the County of Richmond for providing us with the footage for their latest Committee of the Whole meeting of Municipal Council. And thank you for tuning in, and thanks to all of you who've been reaching out to me over the past couple of weeks with your comments and even compliments about what we've been doing on Roundtable in our last few shows. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, well, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact me directly. My phone number is 902-625-8863, and you can reach me by email. The address is adamjrcook, cook with an E, @gmail.com. You can also contact Telil Community Television directly with your ideas and your comments. You can reach them at the station in Arichat at 902-226-1928, and you can use the email address telil@telil.tv. Don't forget to follow Telil on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And our YouTube channel features every single episode of Roundtable, including this one, as well as our sister shows Telil 24/7 and Notre Côté. And we also have the entirety of the latest Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Council, as well as every other council meeting. I'm Adam Cook from St. Peter's. Thank you once again for tuning in to Roundtable. I look forward to seeing you again next week with a brand new show. Bye for now.